There is a good chance that at some point in the last 30 or 40 years, someone told you to stop eating eggs. Maybe it was a doctor. Maybe it was a magazine. Maybe it was just something everyone seemed to believe, that eggs, especially the yolks, were quietly damaging your heart. And so you did what felt responsible. You switched to egg whites, or you stopped eating eggs altogether. But what nobody went back and told you is this: that advice was based on science that has since been largely overturned. And the newer research, the kind published just this year, tells a very different story, especially for people over 65. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens inside your body when you eat eggs consistently at this stage of life, including what 4 eggs a day actually delivers in terms of protein, brain nutrients, and more. What this does for your heart, your brain, your muscles, and even your eyesight. Some of it will surprise you more than you would expect. And toward the end, I will share the specific range that recent research suggests may be the sweet spot for people in this age group. Most people have never heard it. Let's start with the belief that kept eggs off your plate for decades. The idea that eating cholesterol raises your cholesterol. It sounds logical. It feels like it should be true. And honestly, it is not your fault if you believed it. The American Heart Association itself recommended limiting dietary cholesterol to less than 300 milligrams a day for years. One egg yolk has about 186 milligrams, so the math seems simple. But the body does not work like simple math. What actually happens is this: your liver produces cholesterol every single day, regardless of what you eat. When you consume more cholesterol from food, your liver compensates by producing less. For the majority of people, dietary cholesterol has a minimal effect on blood cholesterol levels. The American Heart Association acknowledged this in a 2019 science advisory, stating that observational studies have not generally supported a connection between dietary cholesterol and cardiovascular risk. They did still recommend keeping dietary cholesterol reasonable as part of an overall healthy eating pattern, but the hard limit was gone. And in 2015, the Dietary Guidelines for Americans officially removed the daily cholesterol cap that had been in place since the late 1960s. That is not a minor update. That is a complete reversal of decades of dietary guidance. And yet, most people never got that memo. Now, this next part surprised even me when I first read the research. In January 2025, a team from Monash University in Australia published a study in the journal Nutrients that looked specifically at egg consumption in older adults. Not middle-aged people, not the general population, adults aged 70 and over. They followed 8,756 people for nearly 6 years as part of the ASPRE longitudinal study of older persons. Now, this study was done in Australia, not the US, but the biological mechanisms are the same, and the findings are consistent with research in American populations. Participants reported how often they ate eggs, from rarely or never to a few times a week to every day. After adjusting for diet quality, health conditions, and lifestyle factors, the researchers found that those who ate eggs 1 to 6 times per week had a 15% lower risk of dying from any cause compared to those who rarely ate eggs, and a 29% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. The very food you may have been avoiding to protect your heart was associated with a significant reduction in heart-related death. And this was not a small study or a weak finding. It was published in a peer-reviewed journal and drew from one of the largest ongoing health studies of older adults in the world. Of course, this is observational research. It shows an association, not proof of cause. But combined with everything else we know, the pattern is hard to ignore. And that connects directly to something most people overlook: what eggs do for your brain. A 2024 study from Tufts University and the Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center, published in the Journal of Nutrition, followed over 1,000 older adults with an average age of 81. They tracked their diets, their cognitive health, and, in many cases, examined their brains after death. The researchers found that those who ate more than one egg per week had a 47% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's dementia compared to people who rarely ate eggs. And when they examined the brains of 578 participants who had passed away, they found that higher egg intake was also associated with less Alzheimer's-related pathology, fewer of the plaques and tangles that characterize the disease. This is the detail that changed how I think about eggs and aging. The study found that roughly 39% of the protective effect was explained by a single nutrient, choline. Choline is something your brain needs to produce acetylcholine, one of the key chemicals involved in memory and learning. And as you get older, your body produces less of it. About 90% of Americans do not get enough choline from their diet. 2 eggs give you more than half of your daily requirement. 4 eggs take you well past it. You know that moment when a name is right on the tip of your tongue but will not come? That is partly a choline issue, and eggs are one of the most accessible ways to address it. All right, this next one is important, so stay with me. Most people think of carrots when they think about eye health, but eggs may actually matter more. And the reason comes down to 2 antioxidants with complicated names and very simple jobs: lutein and zeaxanthin. These 2 compounds accumulate in the macula, the part of your retina responsible for sharp central vision. The kind you need to read a book, recognize a face, or drive a car. They act like a natural filter, absorbing the blue light that damages your eyes over a lifetime. Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss for Americans over 65. And research from the University of Massachusetts found that eating just 1 egg a day for 5 weeks increased blood levels of lutein by 26% and zeaxanthin by 38% in adults over 60, without raising cholesterol levels at all. What makes eggs special here is not just that they contain these nutrients, but how well your body absorbs them. A study from the USDA Human Nutrition Research Center at Tufts found that lutein from egg yolks, especially eggs from hens fed a nutrient-enriched diet, was more bioavailable than lutein from supplements or even spinach. Even standard eggs deliver lutein in a fat-based matrix that improves absorption compared to most other sources. So when you eat the whole egg, yolk included, your eyes get more of what they need. Which brings us to something that changes the whole picture for many people after 65. Muscle. Your body starts losing muscle mass as early as your 40s, and after 65, that loss accelerates. The medical term is sarcopenia, and it is directly linked to falls, fractures, loss of independence, and higher mortality. One of the primary ways to slow it down is protein. And not just any protein, high-quality, complete protein with all the essential amino acids, especially leucine, which is critical for triggering muscle repair. Eggs check every one of those boxes. A single large egg delivers about 6 grams of complete protein with a strong leucine content, along with vitamin D, which supports both muscle and bone health. 4 eggs? That is 24 grams of high-quality protein before you have even left the kitchen. Roughly a third of what most experts now recommend for adults over 65 per day. Research published in the British Journal of Community Nursing specifically highlighted eggs as one of the most practical and effective protein sources for older adults at risk of sarcopenia. Inexpensive, easy to prepare, easy to chew, and familiar. For someone who finds it harder to cook elaborate meals, or whose appetite is not what it used to be, 2 or 3 eggs can deliver a meaningful amount of the protein their muscles are quietly asking for. Getting out of the car does not have to feel like a negotiation with your knees forever, but it does require giving your muscles what they need to hold you up. Now, before I get to the specific numbers, I should mention something about the research I have been sharing. Some of these studies were partly funded by egg industry groups, including the Egg Nutrition Center. That does not mean the science is wrong. These were published in peer-reviewed journals, and the findings are consistent with independent research from institutions that had no industry involvement. But you deserve to know that, so you can weigh it for yourself. That is the kind of channel this is. So, the question I know you have been waiting for: how many eggs should you actually eat? And I think, honestly, this is the part that matters most. Because the research does not give one clean number. It gives a range, and the range depends on who you are. The ASPREE study found the strongest benefits in the group eating eggs 1 to 6 times per week. The American Heart Association says healthy older adults with normal cholesterol can safely eat up to 2 eggs per day. The Australian Heart Foundation found no evidence to limit egg consumption at all for healthy individuals. For people with type 2 diabetes or existing cardiovascular disease requiring cholesterol management, some guidelines suggest keeping it under 7 eggs per week, though your doctor is the best person to calibrate that for you. So where does 4 eggs a day land? Nutritionally, 4 eggs give you about 24 grams of protein, roughly 600 milligrams of choline, significant amounts of lutein, zeaxanthin, B12, selenium, and vitamin D. That is a powerful nutritional package. But the honest answer is that most studies have examined ranges up to about 2 or 3 eggs per day. The science on 4 eggs daily specifically is limited. Not because there are red flags, but simply because fewer studies have looked at that exact amount. The sweet spot for most people, based on the current body of research, appears to be somewhere between 1 and 3 eggs per day, eaten as part of a balanced diet. And what you eat with your eggs matters just as much as the eggs themselves. Eggs with vegetables, with whole grains, with fruit. That is a different story than eggs with bacon, sausage, and buttered white toast every morning. The eggs are not the problem, but the company they keep can be. So here is what I want you to take away from this. Eggs are not the enemy they were made out to be. For adults over 65, they are one of the most nutrient-dense, affordable, and practical foods available, supporting your heart, your brain, your muscles, and your eyes in ways that are backed by serious, peer-reviewed research. The science has shifted, and it has shifted in your favor. If you have been avoiding eggs because of what you were told years ago, this might be the week to bring them back. Talk to your doctor if you have specific concerns, especially if you are managing cholesterol with medication. But for most people, the research is clear. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you been limiting your egg intake based on the old advice, or have you already started eating them more freely? Tell me what changed your mind, or what is still holding you back. If this helped you see something in a new light, a like helps more people find this information, and that matters because too many people are still avoiding a food that could be helping them right now. Thank you.